Yo! Yo. What up? What up? What up? Thank you once again for tuning in here at the Spittlez. Y'all, I know it's been a while, y'all. It's been 3 weeks without airing an episode. Circumstances played out, but we're back at it like we never missed a step. And that's the most important thing. And when I say we, I don't mean somebody sitting here with me at the table actively. I mean all of you out there, the At the Spittlez community. Because to me, that's what makes this happen. That's what drives these gears. You know what I mean? It's not about having a co-host or a guest. These things will come naturally when the time is due. If they don't happen, you got to move accordingly. You got to keep the pressure up. You know what I mean? Because as I told y'all before, I have no intention of stopping. And that's why I do what I do. You heard? I done picked up enough things in this lifetime and put them down. This surely can't be one of them. You heard? And I want to start off by saying that my former co-host, Cuban Hound, is preoccupied with other endeavors in his life. More power to that man. But I can't let that stop from what's going on here, y'all. You heard? I can't let that stop this right here. So shout outs to that. Shout outs to that. I'm going to give it a moment while I roll this J. And we take the show on the way. You heard, y'all? Big talks. Today we got a good topic of discussion. Like I said, it's been 3 weeks. And those 3 weeks have been full with a lot of eventful things. Some good, some bad. But I'm here to tell you that that's all a part of the process. You heard? The good primes you for the bad primes you for the good. They work in tandem. You understand? That's how I invite you all to look at that. So, although I was facing some difficulties, some hardship, financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you name it, I had to pick up, y'all. You heard? Because nobody's going to pick you up better than you. And I had to look my adversities in the face and laugh at them motherfuckers, you heard? But before I got to laugh at my adversity, I want to tell you that laughter is an action of celebration. Because when you sit there and you think about what you're going through and how much you're dealing with, and you come to see how well you can pull yourself up out of it, it's some funny shit. It warrants some laughter. You know what I'm saying? It definitely warrants some laughter. And like I said, before I got to that moment of laughter, I had to do something. I had to think about it. Yo, what's going on here? Why is it happening? When is it happening? What is happening? You know what I'm saying? You got to identify it. And that part, my friends, is called what I titled this episode today, the topic of discussion, which is assessing adversity. Because you have to look your adversity square in the eye and assess it. Find out what's going on. Find out how to deal with said adversity. Because while some adversities, or most, may seem inconvenient, unfavorable, negative, they can truly be beneficial sometimes to be in eye-openers, lessons taught, a moment of clarity. I found this to be true on several occasions. For those of you that know me, and as well as those that have been raised around me, the upbringing, we face a lot of adversities, you heard? I've faced a lot of adversities. I'm still facing adversities. I saw a clip. If you look at the Spittlez page on Instagram, I put a clip up there of Steve Harvey saying that he asked the audience, how many of you have had a bad day? And he said the entire audience raised their hand. Because realistically, we all have bad days. We all do. But he said the most important thing that he gets from that is that when encountering bad days, the person that raised their hand, acknowledging those bad days, they're here still. They survived those bad days. So it can be deduced that when bad days arrive, that person will be more than able to survive. They're here still. I'm here still. You're here still. No matter how many times we face adversities in our life, we're here still. They say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Throughout the process of encountering those adversities and dealing with those bad times, what you in fact do is assess what you're going through, see how you can get up out of it, see how you can change the circumstance, assess who you can reach out to, assess who can you let go. Sometimes it works both ways, y'all. Sometimes you got to start doing things, sometimes you got to stop doing things. It's just 100% fact. There's no way around that. Just like when I chose to start doing the Spittlez, you heard? I chose to start doing the Spittlez as well as my other endeavors because I'm trying to create substance for my life. And the one thing that I know that these things revolve around is the connection with the people, the connection with the networking that I go across doing photography, bringing my music out and about, dealing with people, even just talking to people socially. These connections that are made, they're important. They're important because they feed your soul. They're food for thought. They feed your mind. You are what you eat. You're a product of what you digest. As you know, I always invite us all to be mindful of what we're digesting. And when it comes to the adversity, and you putting your mind on whether you're resolving the issue or simply letting it go and getting rid of it, you have to make the conscious choice as to whether or not it's something that you're carrying through, keeping, because you get that choice. You get to choose what you keep. I kept telling people that my entire life. You know, I've been through hardships. I've shed some tears. I've felt some pain. But you get to choose what you keep. You know, I've had good friends. I've had bad friends. I've had good jobs. I've had bad jobs. You get to choose what you keep. Nobody's forcing you to stay around. Nobody's forcing you to stay tied into things that aren't beneficial to you. So when assessing adversity, find out whether or not it's beneficial for you. Getting there involves some steps. You know, I've done, you know me, I like diving into Google. I like doing the research on everything because I'm not trying to feed you something that isn't widely fed unless it's absolutely positive or I'm absolutely certain as to what I'm putting forward. I'm acting intentional, y'all. And that's what we need to do. We need to be intentional with our lives. When you're facing adversity, be intentional on how you assess it and deal with it. You understand? Now, in saying adversity more than 50 times during this episode, I want y'all all to be clear on what that means, you know? And I'm not saying that y'all don't, but it's always good to pull it up to be as thorough as possible, right? So, the definition of adversity says difficult times, hardships, you know? I don't know why this iPhone's acting up. Y'all can feel that pain, right? So adversity means difficulties, misfortune, hard times. The first thing they suggest is that you show resiliency in the face of adversity. We're going to get to that. But dealing with adversity, the hard times that we all deal with, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually, in your careers, in your relationships, within yourself, we have to assess what we keep and what we let go of. That is highly important. The part that gets me, and I want to be thorough on when you speak of adversity too, is the lead word in that word, adverse. You heard? I want to start there. You heard? Because what makes what makes a difficult time an adversity, right? And it stems from the word adverse. And the word adverse, defined, is preventing success or development, harmful, unfavorable. Pretty much contrary to the positive road you're taking, pretty much contrary to the success you're trying to develop, contrary to the good life you're looking to live. Contrary conditions. Contrary conditions are adverse conditions, which then create an adversity in your life. Now, these are conditions, these are situations I'm talking about that can be adverse. Then we have people, for instance, that can be adverse. And an adverse person acting out in an adverse way, exhibiting adversarial behavior, is then known as an adversary. You see how many layers compound onto this word and its definitions? And if you go and take it from something being adverse or someone being adverse, right, which is unfavorable. Let's go back to that. Harmful or unfavorable, right? If a person's being adverse, right, and they're acting in an adversarial fashion, that's involving or characterized by conflict or opposition. You see how that just carried over a different definition when applied to someone being adversarial? Now let's go to adversary, because that is then what they become. An adversary is defined as one opponent in a conflict or dispute. Basically, the contrary party, you know? An adverse person acting in an adversarial fashion then becomes an adversary, which presents you with an adversity. Now, I mentioned adverse conditions, such as unfavorable circumstances in a workplace, a career, your home. Adverse conditions. Then I'm speaking about adverse people becoming adversaries because of their adversarial behavior. And that all stems into being an adversity in your life. So it's not about just dealing with people that are adverse. It's also about dealing with situations that are adverse and knowing how to navigate said situations. You know what I mean? I have encountered so many adverse conditions in my life, and realistically, the one thing that kept me afloat is being a fond believer of the bright side. Because no matter how dark, negative, and bad something may seem initially, I would like to believe that if examined closely, you shall surely find a bright side in the situation. A way to turn the unfavorable into favorable. Mind you, I do understand that some things are better off just left unsaid, left untouched, and just left behind. And if you encounter situations where you feel like you must take such actions, by all means, do you, boo-boo. You know what I'm saying? But if you feel in your heart of hearts like it's something that can be resolved, if it is something that you wish to have better standings with, something you would like to flip around because you want the positive side, you want to get where the grass is greener, then assess the situation. Examine the situation closely. Start to look for ways to reverse engineer it, as I mentioned before. Surely, when you're solution oriented, you shall find a solution. I've been there, man. I've hit the wall. Financially, I've lost my job in the blink of an eye. I used to be a vendor for Bimbo bakeries. And one day I went to work minding my business, and to deliver to a Walmart. Doing my job like I'm normally gonna do, right? And I get into the garage of the store, and the garage gate is closed for receiving, and I'm like, it's like 8:30, bro. Why the hell is the gate closed? And I'm ringing the bell. They've never been too privy of answering the bell anyway, so no hope. But I did it anyway. You know how that shit goes. I stood there for a moment and then decided to walk around to the front. And I walk through the front. I go into the back of receiving, and I'm like, why is the gate closed? I asked the receiver. I'm trying to make a delivery. She said, no more deliveries. You didn't hear? And I'm like, hear what? The store's closing. Whatever inventory you have here, pack it out, and we're not accepting any more deliveries. We're trying to empty the store. And I'm like, wow, this is one of my biggest customers, the biggest store on the route. This is responsible for the majority of my earnings. What can I do, though? What can I say? Like, no, please, Walmart, I need this money. Don't close on me. Like, mind you, I'm not the only one dealing with this. The employees that work there had to deal with it. The other vendors that frequent the stores have to deal with it. Some of them are company guys. Doesn't matter to them. But if you were an independent distributor like me, you were caught in a bind. Seriously. And things just turned upside down from one day to the next. Throughout this year, I had my mom living with me before she transitioned to a nursing home. Mama, what's up? Shout out to Mama. And I was already dealing with adversity, difficult times, hardships, financially, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, from dealing with the transition of my mom being from with me to a nursing home because of her ailments. I'm dealing with that, and then all of a sudden my income comes to a crash. Like, imagine. I'm sure you've all dealt with situations where you're like, oh my God, why me? Like, why now? What is this? Why is this happening? It's very easy to drown in sorrow, you heard? It's very easy to drown in doubt and despair. It's very easy to think things are going to get worse. But just as easy as it is to do that, in my opinion, it's easy, but if it's not for you, make it easy at flipping the script. You heard? Make it easy at looking towards the bright side. Because I was worried. I was really going through it. My household was feeling the pain. Me, my wife, my mom. I gave up worrying, thinking about it. And I put blind faith in God, blind faith in the higher power, blind faith in the universe. The same blind faith you use when you start your car in the morning. You don't think about it and say, oh, please start for me. You just turn the key and it starts because you believe it will be. Unknowingly, you just do it blindly. Boom. I said, you know what? That's how I'm going to lead my day. That's how I'm going to lead these coming times. With blind faith. I'm just going to trust that it's all going to get better. And when I switched my mentality from sorrow and despair, surely enough, I attracted the things that would change the circumstances. I assessed the adversity and started to think about the flip side. Like, yeah, this is happening now. But if I do this and talk to these people, then maybe this can happen. Let me try. I started to find ways out of it. And surely enough, the things that I thought wouldn't happen, happened. Seemingly. So quickly that I would like to say overnight. It was probably over the course of a few days or so, but for me, it felt quick. It felt rather abrupt. Both circumstances, when the negativity arose and when in turn it became positive again. Through my efforts, of course, but mostly through my belief in that my efforts will be rewarded. I got there, you heard? In the face of adversity, I stood up and said, it's going to be fine. I acknowledge that I'm going to fix this. I don't know how, but we got to figure this shit out somehow. And things just started to come together. I watched it go along step by step and realized that it all was connected. In order to reach the end result, the resolution that I acquired, I had to walk through the field of adversity. I had to deal with those circumstances. I had to experience those hardships, those difficulties, the unfavorable circumstances, in order to truly understand and to initially seek out the contrary. You know? The adverse. That's when you flip the adverse, because the adverse of negative is positive. It's the contrary. So not every situation is for, I would like to say, you shouldn't treat any situation with despair. Despair doesn't provide resolution. We're human. We're allowed to feel. We're allowed to think. We're allowed to overthink. But when you get there, truly sit down and begin to assess not only what you're thinking, but what you're feeling. Begin to assess your situation. Begin to seek the bright side and step out of that adversity. I want to take a moment right now to go read some comments from the Spittlez page in regards to a few of the community members facing adversity in their life. The first comment is coming from my man, Buddha Badu. Shout out, Buddha. Good looking. Thank you for reaching out to the page and sharing your experience. When coming to adversity, Buddha said that he had to deal with adversity in the workplace in his past. Oftentimes, he sat with individuals who had experience or educations in the fields that they both worked in. Like they had prior experience and education in the fields that they both worked in. But Buddha came to the table with his own expertise and knowledge and felt like it was dismissed or thrown to the wayside. Buddha said that he had to work twice as hard for his perceptions to be respected and for his opinions to be heard. In order to overcome the adversity, Buddha outworked them. He says, if you're patient, your character will outlast anyone's opinion on you, whether it's positive or negative. You hear that? Gem drop. He said, if you're patient, your character will outlast anyone's opinion on you, whether it be positive or negative. Shout out to Buddha Badu for that advice there and his relatable experience on dealing with adversity. The next comment comes from my brother Eddie from the BX. Shout out to Eddie, you heard? Eddie talked about when he first moved out of New York. You heard? I say Eddie from the BX because that's where I know him from, but he no longer lives in the BX. And Eddie talked about when he first moved out of New York after his son was born. He said he lived out in the streets for a while in Orlando after he ended a relationship with the mother of his child. He was in and out of shelters out there until he got back on his feet, into his own spot, and put a roof over his family's head. Eddie says he went through hell so they can live good. I'm going to take you back to what I said a moment ago. Eddie said he went through hell to make sure that his family was good. You heard? That his family can live good. As I told you, when I dealt with that adversity in the past, with losing my job, at the same time transitioning my mom into the nursing home, I went through hell too. I had to go through that hell to get to the end result of my family living good. Same thing Eddie did. He faced his adversity. He fought his adversity and he overcame his adversity. With that experience that Eddie went through, it enabled him to come to this conclusion and give this quote here. There's always light at the end of every tunnel. Some of us just got to travel further than others to get to it. Big facts, Eddie. And I'm going to light my grease to that one. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Some of us just have to travel a little further to get to it. You hear that? That right there is Eddie seeking the bright side, being adamant on the fact that there is a bright side. I'm going to bring out another comment here. And this comment is from my homie Beezy. That's what the name he goes by. That's how I'm announcing him. And the homie Beezy talks about the times where we lived back in the neighborhood and we didn't always have what we needed to get by. He talks about not having food. Like, the homie broke it down because this is something that he could truly resonate with. And he was like spilling his heart a moment ago, you heard? And it is in regards to not having money for food, being out there sometimes without a meal, having to do whatever it takes to get a meal. And I remember, because BZ was out there with us when we was panhandling for dollars, you heard, for a meal to eat and a blunt to smoke. I ain't gonna hold you guys. It was hard coming up when we were teens. My mother was working 2 jobs and going to school trying to survive as a single mother with 5 boys, you heard? At that time, 4 of us lived with her. My older brother was out the house, but that didn't make it any easier. There was a thing called $3 dinners, you heard, that we had. My brother Bundy can account to that. Bucky can account to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we would sacrifice that dinner because we needed to smoke instead. Because we had to vent, you know what I mean? I got Chris Styles in the building. Chris, talk to me, player. We're talking about adversity. I got several people in the building. I got 7 people here. Shout out, you heard? Better late than never, man. Feel free to drop your comments about adversity. Things that you had faced in your life. Your Bucks, I was just talking about $3 dinner, Bucks. I was talking about panhandling, you heard? Like, we used to be outside by the trains asking for change to get on the train. But really, it was for like a meal and a smoke. You heard? You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes a nigga would swipe us through and we'd be like, damn, we had to go front like we was getting on the train and shit. It'd be like that. You know what I mean? But we did what we had to get through. We did what we had to do day by day, man, to survive, man. So feel free to talk about adversities that you guys have faced or are currently facing. Let's talk this shit through, man, because like I said, man, community is a word in my mind that is comprised of communication and unity. And here at the Spittlez, where we empower minds through conversation, it is my job to bring the community together through communication and unity so that we can share our relatable experiences of life, the knowledges we've obtained and continue to attain on a daily basis, and share them with each other in a each one teach one practice that on some level seemingly has diminished in the minds of some. It is my goal to bring that back, utilizing this platform here. You heard? So feel free to drop your comments. I'm here for y'all, man. I'm here because you're here. You heard? For a half hour, I was sitting here by myself, y'all, but I don't feel bad about that because I believe in y'all. I believe y'all going to tune in, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at the bright side. I'm like, damn, this shit quiet, you know what I'm saying? Cricket. I wish I had the cricket sound so y'all could hear that shit, you know what I'm saying? Because that's how I felt up in here. It was like this. And I'm like, okay, but Ain't gonna stop me, huh? You know, that ain't gonna stop me. I'm out here, y'all. As I told you, I have no intention of stopping. And you gotta do the work until the work is done. Real talk. But talk to me, y'all. Talk to me about your adversities, man. Talk to me about how we can get through. Tell the people out there, you know what I mean? Like the homie Beezy that I was just talking about a moment ago, the reason why he was so touched on the topic and like spilled his heart out is because he still faces adversities. He hasn't seen the bright side yet. He hasn't looked for resolution. You know, the nigga be mad at me and shit if I, ever when I tell this to him, because I tell this to him all the time. But if he's not seeking resolution, he's not going to find it. You hear me? If he's not looking for the bright side, he surely shall remain in the dark. You know? Like, talk to me about it. Like, the fact of the matter is sometimes when you're dealing with things alone too and you feel like you have nobody to talk to, it's harder to find resolutions. Your mind is drowning in thoughts of despair, sorrow, and inevitable failure. And those things can be hard to deal with, and support can go a long way. So I hope that people are tuning in here, seeking resolution. If they can't find it in their immediate circle, feel free to hit me personally on my Instagram page at IamPotchFM. Like, we got to be here for each other, y'all. I look at some communities out there, and I see how much they stick together and help each other eat and grow. Then I look at where we come from, the crab bucket mentality, the for yourself mentality. The shit is bothersome, bro. But you can't hold everything to your expectations. And you wouldn't be able to identify the good things that come along if it wasn't for those bad things, you know? So yeah, I see people out there that aren't about growing with others, aren't about improving their lives. They're not about stepping up and taking action. I see those people, but then I turn my attention to the bright side. And I start to see the adverse. And remember what I told you. The adverse of negative is positive. Flip the script. Big talk. I start to look at the bright side, and guess what I start to see? I start to see the circumstances that resonate with where I want to be. I start to see the people that resonate with where I want to be. I start to be in places that coincide with where I want to end up. When you switch your perception and start looking for better, start looking for resolution. When you're dealing with sorrow and you switch your perception, you start to see things that make you happy. When you're dealing with hate, and you switch your perception, you start to see love. When you're feeling pain and being hurt and you switch your perception, you start to feel better and be treated better. Switch your perception. Assess the adversity and flip the script. Big fact. Bucks Bizza says optimism. Yes, sir, Bucky. Yes, sir. It's like this right here, you heard? Like, half cup, half full, half empty. Optimism, pessimism. I always see the cup as being half full. I just had this conversation the other day. Because I said, if you see the cup as half empty, in my opinion, you're anticipating its emptiness. You're anticipating the cup becoming empty. You're literally drawing out your end result, an empty cup, being pessimistic about it. But when you're an optimist, you live through optimism, and you're an optimistic person, that cup appears half full because you're anticipating it filling up. You're anticipating it becoming full. You already drew out the end result of it being a full cup. Surely you shall get there with that perception. Buck says, sadly, these days, the community or village concept is lost. People move for self, or unless it's beneficial to them as well. Now, I'm going to touch two elements to that statement. I, too, believe that these days, the community or village concept is lost. I call it tribe mentality. You heard that it takes a village to raise one, right? People do move for self because they ain't trying to raise another. Quite frankly, they're incapable of raising themselves sometimes. Oh, I just muted myself. How did I just mute myself? But I noticed it. Okay. I don't know how much y'all where I got cut off at, y'all, but what I was saying is that Bucks touched up on the community or village concept being lost. And I too believe that has faded. I call it the tribe mentality. Yeah, I noticed that the button muted, and I gotta keep my hands away from that right there. But I hit it by mistake, y'all. I hit it by mistake. I too believe that the tribe mentality has faded a bit, and people only move for self unless it's beneficial to them. But like I said, I wanted to touch that second part about it being beneficial to them. Like there's some people that only be around when things are beneficial, and any other time they're not much of an involvement of your life in your life. Truly, those are the people that shouldn't be around. And if they're not with the thick and thin, through the thick and thin process, you heard? But in the same time, I'm going to implore you to be mindful of where you spend your energy and time and always make sure that it's beneficial. It should always be beneficial. And that works in so many levels. When you're spending time with someone, what I mean about it being beneficial is that there should be a form of reciprocation in the situation. It don't have to be money. If you're spending time with someone and they're giving you time back, that's reciprocal. What is the benefit? The time y'all spend with each other, the love you build, stuff like that. The positive things that you build out of that. Those are the benefits of spending said time with a person. If you're doing more than that, if you're acquiring money and all that, the benefits begin to pile. But when speaking about something being beneficial to you, it can work on so many levels. It could be something so small that's significant to you, or it could lead to grandeur. But always make sure that it's of benefit. You don't want to be sitting around with nobody that ain't giving nothing out the situation. You ain't getting no love, no positive energy, no vibes. You just two blank motherfuckers sitting next to each other. That's unnecessary and illogical. I will implore you to snip that. You heard? Through the community, y'all, I feel like in relatable experience, we can share with each other and help each other grow. That's why I love the idea of this platform and continuing this platform. I've had talks with people through my 3-week hiatus about what the platform means to me, where I would like to take the direction. And surely, y'all, there's more to come. I am going to start doing impromptu Instagram lives for open forum discussions where you all can join me live. I'll put you into the video like others are doing, and we chill for a moment and talk our shit. It doesn't have to be a specific topic. It could be what we're dealing with throughout the day, something we heard on TV, a lesson we wish to impart on someone. Truly, this is something always to talk about. Yeah, and I know y'all know that to be true, man. I come from the days where all we did was talk. We didn't have all this shit to distract us. We didn't have the the cell phones where everybody's sitting at the table together. There's 5 people there and everybody's on their cell phone. Nobody's even looking at each other or engaging with each other. We didn't come from that. We had no choice but to engage with each other, bro. We had friends in the neighborhood that would come to our house and play video games together. We would link up to play tag, go to the courts together and play ball. I know some of y'all still do that, at least play ball and everything like that. These are the things that keep you socially connected as a human. Not the technological aspect, you heard? Like, it can be used for positivity, but I've seen that pull people apart more than bring them together, you heard? And talking was really what we lived for. Like, we sat on the stoop and chatted up all day, you heard? Believe it or not, time flies, and you talked about so much. You don't even know what you be talking about sometimes, but you know y'all niggas enjoyed yourselves. We sat down and did social activities that promoted us talking and spending time with each other, playing cards, dominoes. Like I said, video games back in the day was local. You heard? 4 people sitting on the couch being together. Not this online. So the fact that we were always around each other and there for each other oftentimes made it easier to deal with our adversities. I know it did for me, man. I know that my friends, family, social peers that were there for me while I was going through my hardships during my upbringing, that was my escape. That was the healing. That was medicine during my adversities. I come from an abusive household. My stepdad used to beat us in the household when we were young. In the household, we faced that adversity. We dealt with that adversity. We were young. We couldn't face it. We couldn't stand up to it. We had to accept that adversity. But the community on the outside of the household, they helped us suppress the wounds of that adversity. They helped us see a bright side despite the adversity. We went to school, we were happy. We hung out with our friends socially, we were happy. We told them about our hard times. For some reason, either they were going through it too, or they just took your mind off of it. We survived together out there, y'all. That's what I remember growing up. We survived together, we built together. We didn't have much. We ate together. We spoke together, we thought together, we felt together. And in these days, like Buck said, community or village concept is lost a bit. It's faded. I'm not going to say that it's lost completely, because I still see it out there. I tap into some circles. I tap into some people in some circles whose idea of community or village may not align with my idea. You're entitled to your own perception. But when defined, it got to play out a specific way in order to be considered such. That's just what I think. Like, we know of the color red, right? Now, if I pick this napkin up and said, this is red, how would you look at me? This is red. Now, as defined, this is white. So you can say it's red all you want. You can go through your life believing that it's red, acting like it's red. But when defined, it's white, my brother, my sister, my family. It's white. So when we speak about community, village, tribe mentality, these concepts, it either is or it isn't. You can act like it's such, but when defined, if it doesn't coincide with the definition, how could it be such? I don't make the rules, y'all. I just do my best to follow them. You know what I'm saying? I'm at a loss sometimes when people try to convince you to believe in something that clearly isn't the appropriate thing to hold on to. I've been there, y'all. I've even been in times of adversity where people actually made it harder, you know? People actually steered me into a worse path under the pretense that it would get better if I did this, you know? I hit the block. I hung out with the wrong people. False pretenses, false dreams, seeking resolution where inevitably only problems can be found. Adversities can fuck your head up like that. Adversities can have you doing things thinking that you're going to solve them. But you're actually making it worse. Like, I'm pretty sure we've been there a little bit too. That's why I implore you to assess your adversity thoroughly, truly. Analyze what you're going through. Seek positive resolution. Create positive expectancy for the end result. And move positively in an according to fashion. You heard? According to what you wish to achieve. According to where you wish to be. According to how you actually want things to play out. Switch your perception, flip the script, assess your adversity, and make a move. You heard? That's all I can tell y'all. Make a move. You heard? Because standing still leaves you in a space where only these things exist. And if these things weren't beneficial to you or serving you a greater purpose, then get out of that space of these things. Get moving. Stop standing still. Switch your place. Flip the script. I can't say that enough, y'all. When assessing adversity, flip the script. Now, as the episode comes to a close, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I want to let y'all know that I will be back next week. I want to let y'all know that we will be adding things to the platform, open forum discussions, opening the phone lines during the live broadcast. I want y'all to be calling in. You heard, y'all? I want y'all to call in the at the Spittlez Instagram page, and your call will be aired live on the broadcast. Come on, talk your shit. I invite you to. Call in, pop in, join me any way possible. I invite you to. I want you to. I'm going to say that every time because it's true. You heard? Because I don't do this here for me. I do this here for you. You heard? I don't have an end result that is only beneficial to me when it comes to this platform. Like I said, I admire podcasters Wallow and Gilly from $1 Million Worth of Game because they're my inspiration to the heights that I want to reach. That's my inspiration. They're my inspiration of the heights that I want to reach. Their connection with the community, their networking capabilities, their success, their attitudes. I have those visions to reach those heights. That's my end result. And that end result includes you all, the same way it did for them. I know you know this to be true. I'm not gaslighting. I'm not selling you lemons. It is what it is. It either is or it isn't. There's no way around it. As defined. Hold me to it. Because I'm going to continue to act according to. according to my standards, the definitions of the things that I preach to you all, how we choose to empower each other and teach each other. We're going to operate according to how it's defined. How can we go wrong? Real talk. How can we go wrong? So now, I'm going to start concluding here, because I could talk to y'all all night. Y'all know that, you know? But we're going to be back next week. Please feel free to hit me up on Instagram, on my solo page, I am Pach FM. That's iam.pach.fm. Hit me up on the at the Spittlez page on Instagram at DASPITTLEZ. Subscribe on YouTube. Share from YouTube. Turn on your notification bells on YouTube. I'll trust the process. Let's play the process. You heard? All I'm looking for you all to do is continue to grow with me. Give me your ideas. Bring your topics to my table. We'll talk about it. You hear me? Join the live chat. Join the convo. Broadcast the vibe. I can't say that enough. You hear me? Empowering minds through conversation is what we came to do. Actively developing each other, teaching each other, and growing and connecting with each other is what we're here to do. You heard? So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to wish y'all a blessed week. Look out for me on Instagram for my open forum discussions as I go on my impromptu Instagram live sessions. Look out for me, y'all, and join in. And I don't know how much more I can say, man. I love you all, and I thank you for your continued support. And I got nothing but high expectations for us to all gather here again next week, where we broadcast the vibe and empower each other through conversation. Thank you, and I'll see you all next week. Peace.